Today I'm going to sign a bill making the most significant changes to our election code since it was written, that election code, more than 80 years ago. These changes will make it easier for people to vote, to participate in our democracy, actually to take care of the most fundamental responsibility of citizenship, voting. It's going to help to ensure that every Pennsylvanian, Pennsylvanians who work long hours, Pennsylvanians who care for children, Pennsylvanians who frequently travel, Pennsylvanians who are sick, Pennsylvanians who are juggling many commitments in their community. Every single Pennsylvanian who can vote is going to have access to our polls. There are changes in 4 major areas. First, we're reducing the deadline to register to vote from 30 days to 15 days before an election. Cutting the deadline in half will encourage more Pennsylvanians to vote. Second, Pennsylvanians will now be allowed to vote by mail. And unlike absentee voting, a voter does not need to provide an excuse to have this option. This is no excuse absentee voting. It shouldn't matter why you can't get to the polls. I only care, and I think all of us only care, that you can get to the polls, that you have the chance to cast your ballot. Pennsylvanians can now join a permanent mailing list to automatically receive an application by mail for a mail-in ballot or absentee ballot each and every year. And they will be able to request their mail-in ballot during the longest period of time in the nation, 50 days. There is no other state with that long a time. Third, more absentee voters will have their vote counted because they will now have up until 8 p.m. on Election Day, or that's the time the polls close in Pennsylvania, to submit their absentee ballot. This deadline will also apply for mail-in ballots. Prior to this legislation, Pennsylvania had the most restrictive absentee ballot deadline in the nation. Ballots had to be received by the county by 5 p.m. on the Friday before the Tuesday election. That meant absentee voters were missing 4 days' worth of information gathering that in-person voters had. And it resulted in thousands of ballots being ineligible each election because voters missed the deadline. Last month, I made an absentee ballot applications available online, and that is also now a permanent part of this law, of our law, thanks to this bill. Finally, the bill I'm signing today will make the most critical fixes to ensure that we have safe, secure, and smooth elections. And that includes a $90 million bond effort to help counties fund new and secure voting systems. Most of the counties have already done this. This $90 million will go to counties all across Pennsylvania. I am proud of this bill because it represents a true bipartisan compromise that advances the interests of every Pennsylvanian. This law has the potential to improve the fairness of our elections for decades to come. It allows more Pennsylvanians to participate in creating our shared future, and it eases the work of the thousands of volunteers at polling locations all across our state who make our democracy possible.
This is truly a historic moment. The bill signing we are all here to witness represents the very best of governing. It not only introduces great advances, which have been very well described by the other speakers, for voter access and security, but it also came about thanks to a dedicated, collaborative, hardworking, bipartisan effort. This bill advances many aspects of our elections, from extending voter registration to permitting voters to vote by mail for any reason or no reason at all, to reimbursing counties for the purchase of the most secure and accessible voting systems.